Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Pacific Horseplayers right here on the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your host, Noah Meagher, joined by my good friend and co-host, Mr. Ryan Anderson. Today, we will be covering the Santa Anita Late Pick 5 on Saturday, as well as a little bit of Breeders' Cup talk. Just wrapped up with some preps that we covered last weekend, so we'll talk a little bit about those, and as well as some, serious California contenders going into the beginning of November. Before we start with this administrative stuff, of course, we got to check in with our good friend Ryan. Ryan, I believe he's currently watching the Padres game, but I believe he's going to try to give his full attention to the show tonight. Ryan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. The show has my full attention. I'll tune into this Padres game after we're wrapped here. It's going to probably be another high-scoring affair, as the first 3 games kind of have been. But, yeah, it's October baseball. You got to love it, but even better than that, we're getting close to November horse racing, and that kicks off with Breeders' Cup. So I'm excited to talk a little bit about that, at least as far as the California contenders go. And obviously we have another good card this weekend at Santa Anita to talk about.
Yeah, looking forward to it. If you see Ryan do like a fist bump or something, or he looks a little sad, it's probably something to do with the game. But nonetheless, if you see him do something like that, just make sure he's all right. He's got something going on. Before we bring on our special guest, which we're very excited to bring on, let's go through some administrative stuff. First, of course, we got to go with the thing we always say: listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. If you did not sign up for our Keeneland Power Picks, we were on fire last weekend. Paul was very good on Friday with his picks. Saturday, actually, I think Howard gave out a $90 K-Man pick 5 that came home for $800 or $900. And then I was stuck with Sunday, which was the crazy day that led to the early pick 5 carryover today. But fortunately, I was able to get the best bet home and built, which I gave to you guys as well. I was very proud of the pick there. But other than that, if you haven't checked those out, make sure you sign up for this week. Obviously, the full meet package has passed just because the meet has started already, of course. But you can sign up for that weekly, so go ahead and do that. Of course, we still have our regular power picks, $2.10 ROI. You get 2 full tracks, $15.99 a month. Of course, you can go sign up for that on our website here, hhhracingpodcast.com. You can find out more about us, get some pictures of our recent trips. I know some of us are going to be here at Keeneland, especially the guests that we're about to bring on, as well as some of our other co-hosts. Obviously, Howard was there last weekend. If you didn't see on X, he's got a bunch of videos up there. And then I believe Paul will be here, Matt Miller, Brad Anderson. Going to be a good time. Looking forward to that. I think that is the last administrative thing that I need to bring up. So we'll go ahead and bring on our special guest for tonight from In the Money Media and co-host of Get Bucked with Ryan Anderson right here, Mr. Jackson Muniz. Jackson, how you doing?
What's going on, guys? I'm ready to talk some racing with y'all. I'm excited.
Yeah, very excited.
First time. I got October baseball going on. Life is good, man. Life is good.
Yeah, it sounds like you just got in a little while ago. So looking forward to actually meeting you for the first time. I haven't even met Ryan for the first time, so it'll be good to do that. I believe that is good. We can go ahead and get into the handicapping here. Of course, you still have to bear with me a little bit because this is only my 3rd time hosting a show. But anyways, we're going to get right into this pick 5, starting with race 5. Here we go. Share screen. And there we go. Race 5 on the Saturday card at Santa Anita. It is a field of 7. Allowance optional claiming 80,000, going 1 mile and 1/8 on the turf. Like I said, nice field of 7 for older males. We got a couple of really nice contenders in here. A couple that are actually in for the $80,000 claim. Morning line favorite, of course, we don't have morning lines or numbers on the PPs, which is going to be a common theme on the show, especially since the PPs only come out, an hour or 2 in advance. So we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. I'll bring up the picks right now. Race 5, I'm going with 274. Ryan similar 243 and Jackson 724. Of course, we got to start with our guest with Jackson. Jackson, what did you like about the 7 Old Pal?
Yeah, so Old Pal's a horse I've been a fan of all this year, really. He came back with a vengeance as a 4-year-old. That race he won in his first start as a 4-year-old was pretty impressive. They didn't go very fast. He flew home under Mike Smith, got the job done that day. And then the trips haven't really worked out since then. He's been going up against some pretty slow paces. He's been coming with his run, but hasn't quite been getting there. Last time I thought was another step in the right direction where he got a more favorable setup, but I don't think he wanted 11 furlongs, right? Like, he came wide in the final turn, then kind of flattened out at the end. This should be right up his alley. He's cut back to mile and 8. This is what he wants to do. First time gelding, and I really like that he just gets better and better and better with every start. You're looking at his figures. He pairs at fire tops. This is what he does. He pairs them up, and then he jumps up 5 or 6 points. And this is, if that pattern continues, Saturday's race is going to be one of those races where he jumps up another 5 or 6 points. And if he does that, he could find himself in the winner's circle very easily in this spot.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the 9 furlongs. It seems like his late kick is a little more exaggerated when he's going to that mile and a 16th. I really liked him a lot in the California Dream in 2 back. He was just, out in the parking lot. Smith had him way too far back, didn't really set up for him. Last time he was a little closer, obviously, with going a little further. But I think with the cutback, obviously the concern is if he's going to have too much to do, but certainly one to consider. Ryan, you don't have him in the top 3. Is there a reason for that? Or maybe you just preferred others a little bit more?
Yeah, the reason I don't have him top 3 is the jockey. I have a strict rule that I don't bet him on turf. He can beat me. If he beats me, he did when we went over the California Crown on episode 1, and that's
First
okay.
piece, baby.
If I can take the losses, but as long as I keep that principle,
Yeah. No, I like it. Sticking to it. You've got the 2 who I also have in first. That is Escape Artist, Rispoli and McCarthy. One of the horses in for the tag, which I'm not a huge fan of, but obviously loves Santa Anita.
Yeah, this horse has just kind of raced through his conditions, or rather just is kind of at his ceiling clearly. So I think McCarthy's okay giving him up. Obviously, Eclipse Thoroughbreds and Gary Barber both have enough horses that I think this might just be hope to get a win, hope this horse gets claimed, and make out with a little double for the win and the claim price. But I like this horse third off the bench. That last effort, not great, but the third place finisher did come back to win on California Crown Day in wire-to-wire fashion. That's Calm C. Obviously had a huge number. That race 2 back, I think, fits pretty well here. Has a good record at Santa Anita, never out of the try, and that was enough, coupled with Mike McCarthy going long on turf and Rispoli in the saddle today instead of Ray Lou and Kimura. Nothing against them, but obviously it's an upgrade when you get Rispoli on the grass. So that was enough to make me pick him on top. Yeah,
I agree with everything you said. I thought the last race was a little weird, just because you look at this race chart. They basically just ran around the track. I mean, it was a merry-go-round. You got first to first, second to second. Nobody was really doing any running. And like you said, the horse Cabo Spirit came back and went wire to wire in the Henry Turf Cup, which I don't even know how that happened. But anyway, and then Air Force Red was actually came back and ran a nice race. He ran a nice second to First Piece, who I just mentioned. So I thought, it was a weird race, but a live race. 2 back, I thought he was wide against Ryquist, who I've gotten third. Jackson, you've also gotten third. Ryan, you've gotten second. So we'll go to you, Ryan, just because you like him a little more. Like I said, he did beat Escape Artist 2 back. Last time he was a little closer to the pace, and he didn't really have much excuse, but maybe better with a target.
Yeah. I landed on Ryquist second, just strictly because I think this is a logical kind of numbers play. In for the tag again, but this horse has cleared these conditions as he won the non-2, other than 2 back by a head. You see the 0-for-5 record at Santa Anita. That's slightly concerning for sure, but I like him at this distance. I think he's going to be tactical enough to get a pretty good spot. Ayuso, I want to say, is underrated on the turf. As far as his riding goes, he had a great summer on the grass this meet at Del Mar, and yeah, I think he fits here. I like the breeding, top and bottom. It's 2 turns, so he clearly handles the grass. So why not get him on there? And I think he might be a fair price. I'm not sure. Obviously, you don't have the morning lines yet, but might be a fair.
Yeah, Yeah, we'll have to see. Jackson, you've got him third. Anything you want to add, or anything you want to add about the 2, and then we'll move on to race 6.
No, I think you guys covered it pretty well.
Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and do that. I'll get these switched over here. Again, for our audio listeners, I'm going 274. Ryan's going 243, and our guest Jackson going 724. We'll go ahead and move on to race 6 here. Race 6, maiden special weight, going a mile on the main track. This is for 2-year-old fillies. We've got what could be a really nice field of 2-year-olds here, field of 8. Morning line favorite, I would say most likely probably the 2 Howen for JJ and Baffert, or the 6 Lady Chick for Hector Barrios and John Sadler. Go ahead and switch the picks over here. I'm going 6-2-7. Ryan's going 4-1-2, and Jackson going 5-4-1. Jackson, you went first last time, so we'll go ahead and give it to our normal co-host, Ryan. Ryan going with the 4 Ren for Kyle Frey and Richard Mandela, coming off of that one start down at Del Mar. Not a great effort, but hoping maybe on the stretch out she can do a little bit better this time.
Yeah, a couple things I like with this horse. $500,000 purchase, so obviously there's some expectations coming out of Spendthrift Farm. I like Frey and Mandela working together. I like Mandela's second time out. And a little breeding note on this one. This horse is a half to Improbable, who is obviously a fantastic horse when he was running. Obviously was all 2 turns. Into Mischief at an AP Indy does scream 2 turns in basically every way imaginable. There you see Noah pulling up the sibling right there. That is Improbable. And so I think second time out here should get good, should handle the distance with the start under his belt. Mandela doesn't typically crank him first time out either. You see first time out lost to Tenma and then Mancuso, along with Usha. The other 2, second and third, not the best horses, but Tenma did come back to win a stake and then came back to run in the Grade 1 American Pharaoh this past weekend. I can't remember how she finished, but either way, I like Ren in this spot going 2 turns for the first time.
Yeah, the breeding's there. Like you said, Mandela doesn't necessarily crank first time out. You see the limited runners he's had so far at Santa Anita have done well. Jackson, I'll throw it to you. Obviously, the breeding points toward 2 turns. Honestly, I didn't love what I saw. I don't know if what I saw from that first race suggests 2 turns, but again, she's got the breeding. You've got her in second. Let us know why.
Yeah, this was a tough race, I thought, because they all kind of look the same to me, and I was able to watch the Baffert horses works, and I don't know. I feel like when his horses are good, they look really good in the morning, and she just looked okay to me. So I was trying to beat her. Ren was just one that took some money on debut. She was running against 2 pretty good Baffert horses in Tenma and Usha, and the D'Amato horse that was in there was a pretty good one too. So she was only 6-1 that day. Didn't do a ton of running, but did show some speed. Mandela, stretches out, continues to work well. So, and they paid a lot of money for her. So, gonna take a shot here. That's my second pick in this spot.
Yeah, I'll let you go into your top pick, Aransas Pass. Ricky Gonzalez, who I thought was an interesting mount for Michael McCarthy, debuted going 2 turns on the turf the first time, obviously coming out of a live race with Thought Process, who we'll talk a little bit about later. But what would you like about this turf to dirt angle?
Yeah, definitely gonna talk about Thought Process later. She's a good one, and I was pretty surprised that this horse was actually the morning line favorite that day against Thought Process. So Jeff Siegel's the morning line maker out here in California nowadays, and I know he watches a lot of workouts. He watches every single horse that works out on XBTV. So obviously he thought this horse was working pretty well in the mornings to make the horse favored over Thought Process. And you got to remember this horse was working on the dirt. So clearly she's been doing good on the dirt. She doesn't have a lot of turf pedigree. And I thought it was interesting in the race. She was being pushed and halfway through the first turn, and Umberto was just pushing her the entire way around the track. To me, it just looked like a total prep in that spot because she just kind of ran evenly, just ran around there. Again, not a lot of turf pedigree. I think this is what she wants to do, go long on the dirt. And I was able to watch her work out since then. She looks really good. She worked in company and opened up quickly in the last, furlong or two in that final workout in preparation for this. And she's going to be a big price in here in a race where, again, I'm not really in love with any of the shorter prices.
Yeah, I like it. I think you should get a decent price just because she didn't run all that well on debut. She did get bet a little bit, like you said. She did break from post 8 of 9, which going 2 turns on the turf, if you're wide, you basically have no shot, especially first time. So just the experience under the belt. Interestingly enough, she's a Florida bred. That's a tongue twister. But yeah, should get a decent price there. I'll go into my topic, Lady Chick, who I believe, if I remember correctly, this was a horse who Sadler tried to debut on the turf kind of later on the Del Mar meet. She ended up scratching, and I was not happy about it. But this is a horse that was bred by Donald Berto, and then that Tappet Syndicate or whoever that is that went in and joined him bought for $500,000. Obviously owned by Donald Berto. And I think the intentions with Sadler trying to debut on the turf first time was just to get a 2-turn race under her. I didn't necessarily see the works, but I think the works are really consistent. Do like the work 2 back on the training track there, going 1:04 for 5 furlongs. Hector's kind of his main guy, especially for his younger horses. Obviously, some of these trainers aren't great debuting going 2 turns, and it's kind of tough to rely on these 2-year-olds that haven't run before and try to ask them to go 2 turns. But I think the thought is there. She's bred really well. I'll go to the dam. This is a tail of the cat dam. Luminance, who was in the Baffert barn. She's a little sprinty, but she was very talented. But just the fact that Sadler's trying to debut her going 2 turns, I think she can run. She might be able to run all day. It'll be interesting to see what kind of price I get. But I'm very interested in the 6 Lady Chick. I'll go with you, Ryan. Ryan, you've got the 1 in second, Bougie Beach, who was actually a horse I was interested in. Didn't quite make it the top 3, but did lose to Non-Compliant, who we saw win last weekend.
Yeah, lost to Non-Compliant. And then just looking at the work since that race, you see a couple 5 furlong drills, and then the most recent was a 7 furlong. It says bullet. It's 1 out of 4, though, but a sharp 7 furlongs and 125. So this horse has some stamina in these published workouts, which I like to see. Peter Miller is better second time out. You see the 211 ROI, which is what I like. I like Cedillo going 2 turns on the dirt. That's typically a pretty decent angle. This horse showed some speed first time out, going the flat 6 furlongs at Del Mar with the first quarter, 21-4, just about half a length off of that. And didn't really break the sharpest, so kind of rushed up into that. So this horse, I have the confidence that this horse is going to have some good position going into that first turn, and that's what it's all about, going the 2 turns, especially for these young ones. I don't mind the rail horse for the 2-year-old. Global Campaign, Dynaformer, I mean, nothing's crazy on the pedigree, but should handle the 2 turns.
Yeah, I like it. Jackson, you got her in third. Anything to add? And then maybe give us a little insight on the 2 who I can touch on after, and then we can move on.
Yeah, just with the 1 real quick. Miller it's not a secret. Miller's pretty bad first time out. So this horse showed plenty of speed against, Usha's fast. She can't last very long, but she's very fast, and the horse is right up there with her. And if I'm not mistaken, she has the highest dirt figure in this field, I believe.
She might,
Yeah, so just make some sense here from the rail. She's going to be gunning it early. And then the other thing we talked about with the 2, I've talked about this with Ryan before. If I'm going to beat Baffert 2-year-olds, I want to do it with the fillies, and I want to do it when he's going 2 turns for the first time, because he's only 1 for 10. This isn't something he does very often or does well. So you get double whammy here. So I'm going to try to beat this one.
Yeah, you can see the stat I highlighted. Baffert 1 for 12, debuting in route races at Santa Anita, which, like you said, not necessarily his thing. A lot of times when you look up the Baffert stats, you see 20+%. So if you see a percent like that, obviously something you can try play against, especially because this horse is going to take money just being first time out of the Baffert barn. I'm going 6-2-7. Ryan's going 4-1-2, and Jackson's going 5-4-1. We'll move on to the 7th race. Race 7 is I'm going to get this up here.
I heard your mom is running in this race.
Yes. We'll talk about that. Actually, it would be at MRS because she's.
You're right.
She's married. So we gotta make sure we do our stuff because our boss is a teacher, so we gotta make sure all that stuff's good. But anyway, moving on to race 7, going a mile on the turf. This is for 3-year-olds and up. For the girls, obviously Ryan hinted at it. There is a horse that has my last name, and I was extremely tempted to put this horse on top. Unfortunately, I just did not have the balls to do it. I'm going 4-9-5. Ryan's going 3-6-5. Jackson's going 2-5-7. So we're very different in here. Jackson, I'll go back to you. Going with the 2 Ultimate High. One of the 2 horses in for the tag. This is a 7-year-old for Ricky Gonzalez and Carla Gaines.
Yeah, she's making her third start off a long layoff, and I'm going to give her a pass for both those races at Del Mar. She drew the 11 hole both times. Not where you want to be at Del Mar. It's a tough trip, and I don't know. I think
sorry about that.
Ultimate High, you're good. There you go. Yeah, she drew the 11 hole and the 10 hole, so she was drawn way out there both times. Didn't do too much running, but the figures came back okay. Last time especially I thought was rough. I mean, she had Umberto Rispoli in a stake race, so obviously he probably thought she was going to run pretty well that day, but he just couldn't get any cover. She was 3 or 4 wide the first turn, 3 or 4 wide the second turn, and then somehow got stuck behind horses in stretch, and then just didn't have enough punch. I'm going to give her one more shot in here because she's got some bad class, that some numbers that fit in this spot. I also think she'll be a lot more tactical in this race. There's not a lot of speed. Historically, she's been much closer to the pace than she was last time. So, and I think she'll be about at least 5-1. I would assume in this spot.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get a pretty decent price on anybody. You see the time form pace projector. Is that where you imagine her to be, just off the pace?
I would love to see her right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you would too if I was a backer. Just let Ricky break, get her down on the inside, let her save all that ground, and kind of make one run. It's a very wide open race, which is why I don't have her in the top 3, and why Ryan probably doesn't have her in the top 3. Ryan, you're going with 3 just to her outside. Miss Brightside. Is this a song reference? Is this a what do you call it? A hunch play, as they say?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, but something I did like in here. Yes, this horse wasn't really anywhere close to the lead in that last sprint, but does kind of have some sprint speed. You see, was kind of close to the lead too back in March at Santa Anita. I like the second off the layoff. I like the stretch out here. Obviously, Phil D'Amato knows how to train a turf runner. Bred top and bottom for turf, bred top and bottom to go long. So those are things that I like to see. I like Rispoli in the saddle here. Rispoli obviously probably had his pick of whatever mount he wanted in here and chose to get to Miss Brightside. And something else I like about this horse is just the upside. Only the 5th race overall, debuted in a stakes stateside for Phil D'Amato back in the Jimmy Durante. So I think this horse just got a little bit of a break. Coming back is now a mature 3-year-old. So I like this horse stretching out, and I love Matt Miller's comment there. Playing, yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, when this horse runs, I will absolutely be bumping Mr. Brightside, watching Miss Brightside run.
Yeah. I looked at this horse carefully. When I watched that last race going 5 furlongs, it looks like she wants to go 2 turns. I just don't know if she's good enough. The numbers are a little slow. Obviously, there is still some room for improvement. And when she came over, she was highly regarded. Obviously, like you said, they threw her right in the Jimmy Durante to start her off. So maybe still some upside. Again, it is a very difficult race. And I'm going to go with the 4 Hannah Buckle, who I've kind of fallen for a sucker for, just because I loved her a lot in the maiden breaker when she was almost 6-1. She got a pretty good trip that day, but she had a wicked late kick in the lane that I just kind of fell in love with. Last time was a little bit of a weird trip. I think she was too far back, a little further back than they imagined. She was a favorite in that race. It was a big field of 12. If you guys remember correctly, Tahini was a horse I believe my arch nemesis Kent DeSorma was on.
Yep.
And he just kind of put him to sleep, took him wire to wire. Looks like that was an okay race. I feel like she's going to improve. She was kind of bound to improve off of that maiden race, and didn't necessarily bounce, but just was a weird enough trip where I think I can bet her back. And with the wide openness of this field, I think it's going to be a decent price. Obviously, neither of you agree, so either of you have thoughts about that?
Jackson, I'll let you go first.
I just thought the field she beat in that maiden breaker was pretty bad. I didn't think it was a great group at all. But this is a wide open race. I'm not going to talk you off anyone in here.
Yeah.
Respectable.
Yeah, exactly. I'm pretty similar to that. I'm not going to talk you off of anybody. I know I spoke with Tom Reynolds, who kind of helps with Eclipse Thoroughbred Partners and the ownership, and he liked this horse on the maiden breaker this summer at Del Mar, and then I didn't get to speak to him for the second time out. But yeah, I just don't know what she beat that day. Obviously, I like the breeding. Has the one good run and kind of improves off that. Like definitely in with a chance, but it wasn't for me in this spot. But I would never talk you off of that horse.
Okay, you'll see on Saturday. No, I'm just kidding. We got to move on to this horse right here, and I'm going to bring up a comment. Howard the boss says Noah not going with his namesake, embarrassing. Yeah, I know it's embarrassing, but he says not as shameful as the way Trevor pronounced her name in the race. Yeah, that was a little cringy. Almost booked a flight down to San Diego to talk some sense into him. I love him to death. But he's got, if he's going to get any of them right, he's going to get that one right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
You guys both have her in the top three. Jackson, you have her second. I'll let you talk a little bit about her, and then Ryan, you can go. And then I think that's about it. Maybe I'll touch on the 9 after that. But Jackson, go ahead with the 5.
Yeah, well, half of the reason I picked it is just for you. I had to throw him in there, in there somewhere.
Sucking up to the
fact
boss.
that you didn't is kind of, I don't know. Come on, bro. Anyway, no, she took some money in that U.S. debut, and she was stuck in the 12 hole. We just talked about the race. Tahini just kind of walked the dog. No one really did too much running in that race. So I think this is a spot where you can give her another shot. Drawn in a much more sensible post position. Kyle Frey, we've talked about before. He's in the form of his career, so give her another chance in this spot.
Yep.
Yeah,
Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what Jackson said, and then also just watching the replay, this horse just broke real slow. Broke like 3 lengths slow is kind of what I had it. Again, from the 12 pole coming out of the turf chute. So that was enough to get me to play her back in this spot. Second time LASIK, second time in North America. 2 angles that I like here. You'll see we're throwing up the replay right now. She's going to be all the way at the far left at the 12 hole. They're about to break out. And you see she just kind of idles in there, breaks a few lengths slow. The field's kind of gotten ahead of her. And this was won by Tahini, as Jackson, you said, in wire-to-wire fashion. So really just no real shot in here. Just kind of ran around the track and got a little paid workout. Just didn't make much money from it. So hoping second time out yields a better result here. And then, the name had a little bit to do with it. I had to try and, find a way to make a case for this horse. And honestly, I ended up kind of landing on this horse as a legit third choice for me, just with that trouble first out.
Yeah, my mom's not the most athletic person in the world, but I think she probably would have broke better than Miss Meagher did in that race. Anyway, we'll move on. I'll finish things up with the 9. Sorry, Mahina, Hector Barrios, Patrick Gallagher. She was in that Rugeluk race that a couple. Some of these are coming out of. Obviously, that was the last race of the meet, I believe, the very last race. Rugeluk just kind of took them the whole way. But Mahina, she had a lot of work to do. The turf was not maybe as favoring towards closers as it was, at the beginning of the meet. And you can, I'll bring up the incremental pace. She was closing faster than anybody. I'm afraid she's probably going to have too much work to do. But the rails are down. If Hector is able to have her a little closer than maybe normal, I think she's one to consider, especially underneath. I guess we'll go ahead and move on. In race 7, I'm going 4.95. Ryan's going 3.65, and Jackson's going 2.57. Oh, I don't want to make myself big. That's the wrong one. Anyway, we'll go ahead to race 8. Race 8. Hold on 1 second. Why is this?
The Padres do not look good tonight. For anybody watching this game while Noah pulls it up, the Padres are not looking great. It is early. It's early, but our pitching's not doing great.
Yeah, give me 1 second here.
Good. Jackson, I'm proud of you for not playing that early pick 5 carry over here. It was
tough. I saved some money doing that, but it would have been nice if that 12 horse won the 5th race today. Would have bought my second entry for the contest on Friday, but we're gonna roll with 1. We'll be okay. We'll be okay.
Yeah, absolutely. You said did your 12 horse get cut off by like a long shot?
Yeah, well, he was following like the 50-1 shot in front, and then of course the horse backed up, and he just had nowhere to go, and then made another run. It was whatever.
Yeah.
We'll go ahead and talk about race 8. I'm not sure what's happening with my camera, but we can still continue the show. You don't need to see my beautiful face.
Race kind of vamp for you, Noah.
Yeah, exactly. Race 8. I'll go ahead and switch up the picks. Race 8, I thought was a very difficult maiden special weight race. This is for 3-year-old boys going a mile and a 16th on the main track. I went over and switched the picks already. I'm going 2.59. Ryan's going 5.98. Jackson's going 3.58. I believe, Jackson, you went first last time, so I'll throw it back to Ryan. Ryan going with the 5, Schaffner for Rispoli and Sheriffs. Coming off of a very interesting first race. Obviously, Sheriffs is not, great first time out, but should be better second time.
Yeah, absolutely. First, quick shout out in this race. I doubt any of us have it. The best maiden in the world is running in here. So I'm excited to bet against this horse. Obviously, that is Miramati. I actually got the chance to meet Frank Miramati this past weekend. He's a great guy. This horse is not a great horse in terms of winning. So it's definitely a nice key underneath horse. But getting to Schaffner, trained by John Sheriffs, ridden by Rispoli in this spot. Debuted going the 6.5 and made a decent run towards the end of that behind Wayne the Brain and none other than Miramati, and actually dead heated for third with another runner in here. That's Arabian Flirt. I like Sadler's second time out. I like him stretching out. You see that maiden second start, 21% with a $5.14 ROI. That is spectacular. Doesn't have a whole lot of runners anymore, and just kind of will run them when they're ready, which I kind of like. That's kind of very true horseman-like of him. So I like this. And then also just looking at the rest of this race, I think there's a good amount of pace. Obviously, Miramati always kind of goes to the front. And I think there's some other sprint speeds in here that are going to go with him and not give him an easy lead of it because they know that he likes to quit. So I think Schaffner's got a decent chance to pick up those pieces coming down the lane, but competitive race here.
Yeah. And all three of us have him in the top three. Jackson, I'll throw it to you. Anything to add here with the second-time starter?
No, he covered it pretty well. It's very, very logical horse in this spot.
Well, we'll go ahead and throw it back to you with a 3, Arabian Flirt, who I know you've been a fan of several times. I think you were a big fan of him either last time or 2 back. I can't remember. Yeah. I know it was a show that I was on, or maybe a show I listened of yours. But go ahead and talk about Arabian Flirt.
Yeah, it was last time. We all did that show together on the closing weekend, I think it was. And my big concern with him that day was that it was just going to be too short. I know he's cutting back for that race, and I think he wants to go further. And that's pretty much exactly how it played out. Watching the replay, they go into the far turn. He looks like he's done. Like he starts dropping back, and then they hit the top of the stretch, and he just slowly grinding away. I think made up a little bit of ground. Galloped out really well though. He wants to go far. He probably wants to go like a mile and a half. So this mile 16th might be even too short for him. That's my biggest concern. But he did dead heat with Schaffner, who I know we're all picking somewhere. And, if he can be a little more forward, and he does have the Los Alamitos jockey on, which I'm a big fan of because everyone's going to fade, even though it's a dirt race and it doesn't matter that much. He can blow this thing up, I think. And like I said, he dead heated with Schaffner. He's going to be at least double the price just on the connections alone. And he wants to run as far as he possibly can. So I'm going to give him one more shot in this spot.
I like it. Hold on a sec. Oh my gosh, I'm switching between cameras here. I don't know what's really going on. You've got the Raven Flirt in first. Ryan doesn't have him. Ryan, I'll let you go ahead and talk about the 9.
Real quick. Why do you guys not have him? He dead heated with the 5. The same horse.
That's definitely fair. That's a fair point. I don't know. The connections I don't trust as much as I trust Sheriffs and Rispoli, and I could make a case for the other 2, the 9 and the 8, more than I could for the 3. Yeah. So I had the 3 in, I believe, 4th on my sheet here. So not that far off. Competitive race for sure, and is going to be a substantially larger price than Schaffner in here, but definitely has a decent case.
Yeah. I think it's a pretty tough race. Ryan, you've got the 9 in second, who I actually like a little bit. I've got him in third, who's Magnify. He started off with that very dullish 33 buyer, but then came back with a really nice race, just losing to Canada Gate last time.
Yeah, lost to a Baffert in Canada Gate, and I believe was the shorter. No, Magnify was the longer price of the 2 Bafferts in that race there. But I like the way this horse has worked coming out of that last effort, going the 2 turns off the layoff. You see the bold S next to the last run right there, next to that first fraction. So it was a very speed favoring race. I forget what the race chart looks like. But Hector Barrios takes them out, which is kind of interesting. That's not a combo you see too much of. In fact, they only have 3 total mounts, as I see in the stats here. And they're 0 for 3, but that is what it is. I like this horse going the 2 turns. Clearly can make up a bit of ground coming down the lane, and that's kind of what I like in this spot. I think he's going to see similar fractions to the 21 and 45 that he saw last time, because I think there's a lot of speed in here. And then Justify out of Curlin Mare just obviously screams 2 turns. This horse has handled the dirt, second off the layoff. Why not?
Yeah, a little too far back here, maybe?
Yeah. Maybe.
That's kind of what I thought.
Maybe a little too far back. You see the late pace flag, which is something of a vote of confidence, I guess. I don't think he's going to be that far back, but maybe he will be. And obviously that was a 5-horse field last time. It's tough to close into those and make up a lot of ground sometimes, especially at Del Mar that we saw was such a speed favoring racetrack for most, if not all, of the summer. So I'll give him one more shot in here. Again, deeply competitive race, but I had to have this horse somewhere.
Yeah, I thought he was dangerous. It'll just be how he works at a trip, just being post 9 of 9. He just he ran in spots last time. There were a couple of horses. I know it was a field of 5. But there were a couple horses that kind of gunned to the lead and put him in kind of a tight spot. And he was climbing down the backside, kind of running in spots, like I said. So I think he's got some raw talent. If he's good enough to beat this field, I don't know. But certainly one to consider. I've got the 2 Malibu Rocks, so I think is a little bit of a wacko. Showed some talent in the first 2 races of the career. Then he was off for a while, came back on turf. Was another one that was just, he had a really weird trip, was running in spots. I think he's more of a dirt horse, excuse me. Getting back to the dirt, I think that race was just kind of to freshen him up. I'm a little concerned about the works. I don't know. I'm not too keyed in on how Francisco Garcia works, but they are a little bit slow. But with that being said, I think you're going to get a decent price, and which is obviously a pretty wide open race. We talked about the 3. We talked about the 5. I'll let you talk about the 8 Jackson, who is Harry Houdini. And then Ryan, I'll let you add a little bit after. But a horse that was coming off of a really long layoff last time for Dan Blacker, was going balls to the walls at that 6 furlongs, going sub 22 last time. Just couldn't quite hold on, but looks to be better second off that long break. Yeah,
just there's a speed play in this spot. Like you said, he came off 15-month layoff in that race, and he took a lot of money. He got bet down to 5-1. That was in that same race that Miramati was in, as well as Arabian Flirt. Took it to Miramati and just couldn't quite see that trip out. But he's bred to go 2 turns, and Blacker's really good with this move. Second off the bench, sprint to rally, high ROI, high percentage. So I'm not going to be surprised if this one can take this field a long way.
Yeah.
Yeah, ahead, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Second off the layoff. I like Blacker's numbers. Blacker's also, it's kind of strange. Delmar isn't typically his premier meet. He typically does a lot better at these Santa Anita meets, autumn and then in the winter, specifically. So I like playing Dan Blacker, this time of year, once you kind of get out of Delmar, but seeing that he came back really strong after that long layoff, going from 2 to 3, still stayed in maiden special weight company, improved the buyer by, looks like 16 points. And then, you mentioned took it to Miramati last time out. So I like it going the 2 turns. Good magic at a Bellamy Road. That says enough 2 turns for me. So that was enough to put him in. I believe I'm having 3rd. Yeah,
certainly one to consider. Before we move on, we got to talk about this horse, Miramati. 0 for 8 at this point in his career. Now trying 2 turns. Any thoughts from either of you? Play against for sure.
They need to put him in the Breeders' Cup because he'll get 3rd somehow. He will. Look who he's ran against. He almost beat Prince of Monaco last year.
He's just a cash checker, right?
He just runs with he's a what do they call him? The
herd animal. Just a pure herd animal.
Herd horse, whatever he just runs with whoever he's with.
Yeah, he's running with his buddies. Yeah.
Yes.
No. It's I'm very surprised that it's taken Baffert this long to try 2 turns, just because when it doesn't work and you keep doing it again, it's like the definition of insanity, trying the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Mm-hmm. But yeah, finally they're going 2 turns. I think it's even a better spot to play against him because I don't think he's going to get 2 turns either. And there's other speed. So Ryan,
no,
you got anything?
I agree. Well, he did try 2 turns in his 2-year-old year going the mile. And that went okay, but I am willing to look at him again, going 2 turns now as a 3-year-old and a mature 3-year-old, because you can tell his 3 buyers starting off his 2-year-old year weren't strong. But he had the same kind of run going the 1 try at 2 turns and actually got DQ'd and placed 4th in that effort, probably because he was just backing up into somebody or getting tired or quitting or doing whatever Miramati does when he gets to the 16th pole there. So I'm going to definitely play a little bit of a underneath trifecta key, whatever you want to call it there. Maybe key in the 2nd spot and some exactas. Maybe you get 9 to 5 on this horse this time, and that wouldn't be terrible as an underneath play.
Who did you say was a morning line maker out there?
Jeff Siegel?
Yes.
Jeff Siegel.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to. He just has to not be able to sleep when this horse pops up in the overnights. I mean,
he always takes money. It's crazy.
What is he? What if you're Jeff Siegel? What do you make him at this point? I mean, I wouldn't even know what to do.
This horse is
3-2.
I would just say every time I see his name in the entry box, I just do 6 to 5 and I keep it moving because people are going to bet this horse strictly off the speed figs, strictly off of the connections. the purchase price is over $1 million. 1.05. I mean, this horse just doesn't like to win. So just key him underneath. If he beats me, he beats me. I will not be upset in the slightest. Last note, it's interesting that JJ sticks of the two Baffords. It's interesting that JJ sticks. He's clearly had enough runs on this horse that he knows he doesn't want to finish. So maybe he's just stubborn and wants to get one to win. But man, I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because there are some kind of jockey gymnastics in that race. Barrios is on the 9. Barrios is off of the 8 that you like, Jackson, and I think Cedillo's on. So there's a little weird of there's a little bit of the weird musical chairs, as they like to say. We'll move on to the finale, race 9, the California Distaff Handicap, going 6.5 furlongs down the hill on the turf course. Got a big field of 12. I'll go ahead and switch the picks over here. Race 9, I'm going 11-4-7. Ryan's going 8-11-4. Jackson going 7-4-8. So it looks like we a little bit agree in this race. Jackson, I'll go back to you for the finale. You're going with the 7, Stay and Scam, who was downright awful last time, but you're believing that she can't be that bad.
Yeah, she'll get back on track here. She's one of those horses where she's not good at delmar, at delmar, because 5 furlongs is too sharp for her, and a mile is probably too long. 6.5 is it's perfect, because you look at her 6.5 races; those are her best races on figure. She's 2 for 4 at the distance, in the money every single time. She's gonna get back to her winning ways in this spot. There's not a ton of speed in this spot. She'll be probably 3rd or 4th. I would assume down the backside, or down the hill, I should say. Rispoli bothers to ride here, which I thought is interesting because he doesn't ride for O'Neill that often, but when they do, they obviously do really well together. And yeah, again, I just think she'll be in the best spot. She's got the best figures. She's clearly the one to be. I'm gonna be leaning very heavily on her in here.
Gotcha. Ryan, any reason you don't have her in the mix?
Yeah, actually, I need to correct myself. I missed this.
Boy.
I did not see that Rispoli took them out. I saw Stay and Scam was entered in here, and because we, had such a limited time with looking at the PPs, I assume Mario had stuck, and I would not have bet Mario had he been the jockey on this horse. However, with him going off, I do want to put Stay and Scam in second. I would have gone 8-7-11. That's completely on me. I overlooked that one. To all the points that Jackson made, coming down the hills, this horse is best. So I'll touch on the 8 here if that's all right. But yeah, I am going to add the 7 into those tickets because
you got beat with a lot of jockeys, man.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, I mean Mario more than any of them, especially on this horse. But Mario and Mike Smith going on the turf I'm okay losing to those. Everybody else, I'll kind of, it depends on the day. But Chismosa, I believe is how you pronounce this one. Some pretty competitive speed figures here. Definitely is a sprinter, likes going down the hill, has a good 5 runs going down here. Doesn't look like any wins, but has run respectively enough. I think has a good closing kick coming down the hill here. Has obviously kept good company, finishing second to Sweet Azteca last time out. Is graded stakes placed multiple times. So I like that. I like that in here. I think the class might give her a bit of an edge. Obviously, Thiago Pereira and Rafael de Leon, not the strongest of connections, but I think that might just add to the price here. And those clubhouse rides love coming down the hill. Yeah,
Chismosa is a horse that I am always on the wrong side of. When I like her, she doesn't win. When I try to beat her in a 4 or 5 horse field, she gets it done at 6 or 7 to 1, and she's just really frustrating. She's not in my top 3, but I am 100% using her if I play the pick 5. With that being said, she is pretty classy. She's a really nice horse to own. I mean, she's $500,000 earner. She can do it on both dirt and turf. She has to be respected in a field like this. I'll go ahead and I'll go with my top pick, who you guys don't necessarily like as much as I do. Going with the 11 Big Summer. This is another one with the jockey gymnastics. Obviously, with Rispoli hopping on Stay and Scam, can't ride here as well. So Hector hops on for Carla Gaines. I just thought the race 2 back coming off of that little short break at Del Mar was impressive. She sat a pretty nice spot. Sat off the pace, ran down Just Nails, who's actually rattled off 3 in a row. And then last time, it wasn't what I guess backers were hoping for. She was a 5-2 favorite. Obviously, she's better than that. She's got down the hill experience, which I think is key. I always thought the 5 furlongs was a little too short for her, even though she was able to get it done 2 back. Just one that's a hard hitter. She loves Santa Anita. I think he'll get a decent price in the big field. Ryan, you got her 3rd. Anything to add here? And then we'll go over to Jackson with the 4 and then start with best bets.
Yeah, Carla Gaines coming off the layoff is pretty strong. Is pretty strong second off as well. So I like this horse coming 3rd off the layoff. I like what you said. This horse going 5 furlongs was too sharp rather. Cleared the non-winners of one other than condition off the layoff, and then went straight into the next level condition. Again, going the 5 furlongs, made a similar sort of run. I just think faced a little bit better in there. And now gets a chance to go back down the hill, something this horse likes to do. Some of her her best buyers have come going down the hill. Good Lord. So that's a plus for me. I like the Barrios hops aboard here because obviously, Rispoli can't ride 2 horses in the same race.
That would be impressive.
That would be impressive. And if anybody at Santa Anita was going to do it, it'd probably be Rispoli. But
probably would.
But big summer coming down the hill. I think that's going to set up nicely. Obviously, pretty tactical. Has a good closing kick. So 3rd off the layoff, I think fits well.
Jackson, you're going to wrap us up with the 4, who I believe is Rose Maddox.
Yes.
If I'm correct. Yeah, Rose Maddox, JJ for Steve Miotti. Obviously a turf horse. Looks like that Losal race was just to basically work her out. Getting back to the surface, she's like very classy in a spot like this.
Yeah, she's not impossible in here. I'm just gonna use underneath for the most part. She needs this pace to collapse because she's not quite as fast as she once was, but she does have a big kick, like you mentioned. So if unexpectedly there's a lot of horses that end up dueling on the front end, she's the one that's going to be flying late, I think, at least. And it's a plus that Hernandez bothers to ride in this spot.
Yeah, I think we've got it pretty locked up there. 4, 7, 8, 11 is probably what I'll use. If anybody else wins, I wouldn't be shocked, but probably wouldn't be using in pick 5s. We'll go ahead and move on to our best bets. Jackson obviously is our guest, so he'll go first. His best bet, a double starting in race 8, 3, 5. That is Arabian Flirt and the Sheriff's Horse, who the name is passing me. And then in Schaffner, maybe. And then going into Stay and Scam, who we just talked about. Jackson, go ahead and talk about your double.
Yeah, big fan of what Santa Anita is doing this meet, where they're changing the late double and the late pick 3 to higher minimums and lower takeout. So anytime they try to do that, I'm going to support it as much as I can. So that's where my play is going to be in here. Like I mentioned, I love Stay and Scam in that spot. I think she's by far the horse to beat. She's going to get the best trip. She's got the best figures. She's got the best jockey. A lot of things going her way. I like the cutback. So I think she'll be really tough to beat in there. And with that, again, with the higher minimums, you get some good value in there. If you can get a price in the race prior, which I think you can, because we're going to beat Miramati yet again. Hopefully Arabian Flirt is the one to do it. And I would think he's made at least 10-1. But if not, Schaffner won't surprise me at all. He'll take a step forward and start number 2 for Sheriffs.
Yeah, I like it. Good luck with that. Before we go into Ryan, it looks like you got the weather on. When you're here in Lexington, it looks like it's going to be like 80 and sunny. So I don't think you need to have the weather on behind you. But anyway, we'll go into Ryan's best
It
bets.
was the game. I don't know what happened.
Wow, that is on like the very, very bottom corner of your screen, Jackson. Noah is just dialed in.
I'm dialed today.
The guy does not work on that TV. I flipped through like 195 channels looking for the baseball game. I never found the one I wanted. It was annoying.
Weather works. Ryan, we'll go to you. Race 7, a win bet on the number 3, and then a turf pick 3 starting in race 5, 2, 4 with 3, and then the improvise 7, 8, 11.
Yes, thank you for changing that one. Great host move there. I'll start with the win bet on the 3. That's Mrs. Brightside. Love this horse, love this play here. I'm playing the stretch out angle, hoping the jockey is aggressive from the saddle. Speaking about Rispoli, who can definitely be aggressive, knows how to get position. Handicap's a good race when he's looking at this. And, I don't see a lot of pace in there, so I feel comfortable kind of just building my ticket, at least these 2 tickets kind of around him. Going to be a win bet worthy. I'm hoping for a decent price. I'm not sure what we'll get. Anything probably 9-2. 4-1 maybe might be more fair on this horse just because Rispoli maybe 7-2. I would take anything in that range. That feels fair to me. And then in the pick 3, going to single this horse. Going to go 2 deep in the first leg using the 2 and the 4. I like that. That's Escape Artist. and Request, who we talked about, two of my top picks in there. And then, closing it out with Stay and Scam, now, changed and updated with Rispoli on board. And then the 8 and 11, just in case Stay and Scam can't get it done, because she does have some efforts while her best or his best is coming down the hill. Does have some efforts where he doesn't quite finish it off. So in case that happens, I want the 8 and 11 because I'm going to build this around the 3. Howard, looking forward to meeting you too, buddy.
Yeah, you too, Howard, man.
Looking forward to that in a couple of weeks.
Boss, buddy, whatever. Mr. Boss, buddy. Yeah.
Same thing, yeah. He goes by a lot of names. Boss, Uncle, Funkle. It's just endless. Whenever we meet up, we just come up with a word or phrase to call him by the end of the weekend, and then it just sticks. But anyway, Ryan, good luck with those. I am going with a straight double. I'm very bold on the show. Starting in race 6, going to double 6-4. That is Lady Chick into Hannah Buckle, I believe. Lady Chick is that first timer for Sadler. I just think there are a lot of good intentions there. Tried to debut her earlier, couldn't quite get it done. But I kind of think it's her or the Baffert. And I think the price on her is going to be much more appealing. And going into race 7 with the 4 Hannah Buckle, who's probably the horse I like the most on the card. I fell in love with her 2 back. Obviously, the question is, who she beat. Had a weird trip last time. I think she's going to improve, and I look forward to seeing her run. So that's my best bet. Before we wrap up the show, we've got a little 10, 15-minute segment for everybody. We are going to call it California versus everybody. We'll go ahead and get into that. I prepared some notes to talk a little bit about some of the Breeders' Cup races and how the California contenders stack up. We're only going to talk about the ones where California actually has a chance because there are a couple that we have absolutely no chance in. But the first one we'll start with is the sprint. From the West Coast, we've got Straight No Chaser, The Chosen Vron, Raging Torrent. Prince of Monaco, would you identify him as a West Coaster?
I guess.
Yeah, he trains here. It counts.
He started here. I'll count it.
So we've got those 4. And then from the rest of the U.S., we've got Mulligan, Nakatomi, Federal Judge, Skelly, Domestic Product, and Mufasa. I'd like to get ideas from you. Do we match up?
Oh, we're favored. We're definitely favored.
We're favored.
Straight No Chaser looked good. I mean, I don't know who he faced, but he looked good. And
Ryan? Yeah, Straight No Chaser. I remember that race, Preakness Day out in Pimlico, and then long layoff, but the race has since coming back, strong races. That's going to be a deep field. But yeah, I think Jackson nailed that. I think we're favored in there. Maybe not on the morning line because that might be tough to make, but I think once the betting opens, I think Straight No Chaser is the favorite.
Yeah, this comment by Matt might wrap up the entirety of the show. Matt, of course. So that's the sprint. I'm
glad they actually made that the last race of the day because it's pretty wide open. You can make a case for probably 7 or 8 horses in that race. So
yeah,
it'll be fun.
Yeah. So moving on from the sprint, we've got the mile. Obviously, there is really it looks like it could be Euro dominated. The only one we really have to talk about on the West Coast is Johannes. And then on the East Coast, you've got Carl Spackler and More Than Looks. Any chance Johannes is able to defeat one of those 2?
Yeah, he can beat him. It's the Euros I'd be more worried about. I don't know who's coming over yet. I haven't really heard, but they're obviously very tough with anything near their top horses. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see on that one.
Yeah, I would definitely say Euro is going to be in first. Second, I think can be a U.S. horse, but I think it's going to be More Than Looks. That closing kick at Keeneland a couple of weeks ago was gnarly. Came impressive. Flying, and that was not a very fast pace. And then third, I think Johannes can get. It might be another Euro, but I think an American horse, either More Than Looks or Johannes, will get into the top 3 somehow. More Than Looks is really good, has a really, really lethal closing kick. And yeah, Johannes is really talented, but might just be overmatched there. I mean, Porta Fortuna, sure. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of strong Euros, probably some good Japanese runners coming over for that race. But give me More Than Looks and give me Johannes underneath maybe a little bit.
At least he's
More
big.
Than Looks was a horse that. Yeah, More Than Looks was a horse that Howard was very fond of last weekend. Obviously, he's going to need some luck and some pace, but he's got some raw ability. He's just got to get the setup.
He's going to get some pace in there. There's always enough pace.
He should, yeah.
There's
you
not
know
going to be
the
a Cabo Spirit to walk him along.
no, hell no. You know they're gonna, especially when that turf's gonna be firm in November. They're gonna set some pretty fast fractions. We'll talk about the juvenile. Our juveniles out here on the West Coast are not great, but we just did have those races that wrapped up last weekend. Citizen Bull was the one that ended up getting the job done in the American Pharoah, so I guess he's kind of up there. But the one that is probably the most prominent is Gaming, who I know we've talked about a little bit in our little group chat. But Gaming's got to face Chancellor McPatrick, East Avenue, Ferocious, Jonathan's Way, and Tip Top Thomas. Going to be interesting. I know we talked about it. Irad going to Gaming and Pratt staying with Chancellor, but a pretty heavy contingent from the East Coast. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I think Chancellor is probably going to be against the track bias pretty heavy come Breeders' Cup. So I'm okay not playing Chancellor. Maybe he's just too good. But I think Gaming's a little interesting. You know, I mean, Martin Garcia coming back to ride for Baffert and getting that win was kind of fun to see on Citizen Bull. And then on Gaming, you have Irad coming on. Obviously, Irad can ride better than most, maybe except for Pratt, in my opinion. But I like those two. I think East Avenue, I mean, he looked a monster at Keeneland. So he might be the horse to beat just overall. But sticking to the West Coast ones, I think Gaming can get a piece of it. Baffert knows how to crank him up and get him ready.
Jackson, I know you kind of screwed up the tote a little bit. 2 back with Gaming. I guess it's last time with Gaming. 2 back for some of the other runners that ran last weekend. What are you going to do come November?
Yeah, well, first of all, it was all Ryan's fault. He told me that was the best horse he's ever seen look in the paddock before. I'm like, I gotta bet this horse, and then he got like 4.
Turns out I was looking at the exercise rider.
Yeah, something like that. He's gotta get faster though. He's too slow right now in figures, and he's at least 10, 15 points too slow. So we'll see. And he didn't make the lead in that race, and he's probably not making the lead in November either. So I think he's up against it at least to this point.
Just because I was there this weekend, I thought East Avenue was visually very impressive. You know, in his maiden breaker, he beat this random horse like named Built or something. So I think that helps his case a little bit. I'll tell you what, Chancellor ran a nice race in the Champagne. I almost want Tip Top Thomas. That race was very fast up front. Tip Top Thomas was really the only one that hung around. I know Chancellor made that big wide move, but I thought I really set up for him. I think Tip Top Thomas is interesting. I don't know if he can beat the juvenile field, but he's going to be a price if he does go. I think one to consider. Turf Sprint, Ryan?
Yeah. Does it, do you care at all that Irad has hopped off of Tip Top Thomas to ride Gaming for Baffert, who he doesn't normally ride for? Or do you not pay attention too much to that?
I don't know. Not really.
Fletcher?
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know who the trainer is on Tip Top Thomas, but I can guarantee Baffert.
Fletcher, no?
It could be. Is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess you could nitpick. But he's going to be a big price. Thought he was interesting coming out of that race. Turf Sprint we can talk about for literally 15 seconds because we've got Motorius, but there's this other big horse. I don't know if you know his name. His name's Cogburn, but he's going to be coming over with a full force. Any chance Motorius runs second?
I'll say he can win because if we get another Jasper Crone situation where they just decide to go 20 seconds to the quarter and Cogburn doesn't want to raid off of him and he goes too fast, Motorius loves Delmar. Yeah, obviously, he needs it to collapse. That's the only way he can beat Cogburn, but I don't think it's impossible.
Do we think Motorius draws the post 10, 11, or 12? Because he loves to draw out wide.
Mm-hmm. He does every time.
I mean, every time. They say it's an odds game, but I just don't. He seems to love that. So, no, if he gets in and it's going to depend a little bit on post position for me, but it might set up for him. There's going to be a lot of pace. You mentioned Jasper Crone a couple years ago. There's a chance we get something like that again. But I mean, Cogburn's just so good.
Yeah, there's a lot of ifs.
There's a lot of ifs, and Cogburn can definitely rate if needed. He might just win on talent, but I think Motorius can get second, maybe third.
Yeah, maybe a little straight exacta to get things kicked off on Saturday. We'll go ahead and go to the juvenile fillies. Not a huge contingent coming from the West Coast, but we did have those races from the last weekend. We've got non-compliant, Nuni, and Tenma are probably the best 3 that we have over here. And then the top 2 finishers, I think, might be some more logicals that came from Keeneland. That race is blanking me. Alcibiades?
Yeah.
Alcibiades,
Come on,
right?
it's your home track, bro.
Yeah. Well, not really, but
You were there. How about that?
Yeah. But Immersive was able to get the job done in that race on Saturday, and then Quick Kick ran a really nice second. Any thoughts on those 2? I mean, the juvenile fillies are not great, so I honestly would not be surprised if either of those 3 I listed for the California runners got it done.
Yeah, and the 3 horses that won last weekend all have the same style. They want to sit in that 3rd spot and go by late, and only one of them can get that trip. So it'll be interesting who gets that forward position. I would think you would try to lean with the Baffords usually, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, watching those races last weekend, especially the ones out on the West Coast, the non-compliant Nuni and Tenma race, I'm taking Nuni out of there. I liked how she looked going 2 turns. I was not a fan of that horse sprinting. Just kind of, gave it up. Another kind of Miramati looker going the 6 furlongs or the 5 furlongs kind of starting off. But I like that look going 2 turns. Yes, got to the lead. Yes, had it relatively easy. But I think second time routing, if this horse shows up, and I think it's safe to say Sedan has the money to supplement this horse if they want to into the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. So I'll take Nuni in there. I feel like maybe this horse is just maturing a little bit and growing up, and I think second try going the 2 turns, stretching out the extra half furlong might be right for her.
Was that Alcibiades on Friday? Did I get that wrong? Yeah.
No,
So Keeneland on Friday was a little more speed favoring than Saturday and Sunday. I thought it played pretty fair Saturday and Sunday. I am completely against Immersive come Breeders' Cup. Mm-hmm. She got a dream trip. She didn't get any dirt in her face. She was too wide the whole time. She broke from post 8, but she was able to work her way over. It was a really good ride for Manny. But I'm completely against her. She is one of my stronger tosses so far. I haven't done a ton of research, but I know she got a very good trip in that race. And I just think that field's going to be way too wide open to trust her. And she could be the favorite.
I definitely agree. Jackson and I covered that last week for opening week, and we covered that race. And both of us, I believe, tossed Immersive. If I remember correctly.
So Friday was speed favoring.
Yes.
And I bet the speed horse, and she got last. So that's great. Thanks for that.
Yeah, it doesn't quite work out as most of the time.
Nice pick, man.
Well, go ahead and move on to a race that I know you two are very looking forward to talking about. Juvenile Fillies Turf. We've got a little filly by the name of Thought Process who's going to have to obviously face some European contingent, but from the U.S. on the East Coast, she's going to have to face the top 3 from the Jessamine that ran last weekend. We've got Mayday Ready, Destino d'Oro, and Totally Justified. And then my girl from Resolute, Virgin Colada.
Yeah, I'm not afraid of anything on the East Coast for this horse. I think she's faster than them, and she's more tactical than them. All the big threats to her are all from Europe, so we'll have to see who shows up from that side.
Yeah, I completely agree. This horse just ran this past weekend, absolute jog. Didn't face much, obviously, but this was just a final prep. Looked really good doing it. Again, my eye for horses is about as good as Stevie Wonder's, so take that as you will. But this horse is going to be the West Coast's best shot at winning a Breeders' Cup race. Because if you were to beat the Euros, in my opinion, it's with 2-year-old fillies on the grass. Obviously, because they don't really have many dirt shippers. So 2-year-old fillies on the grass for the Euros don't really scare me. I haven't seen or heard of any monsters that are going to be coming over, at least in the juvenile filly division, which makes me feel good. And then obviously anything trained by Chad Brown coming over is dangerous. Won this race last year with Hard to Justify, but there was no thought process in that race. So I like thought process in here a lot, and that's going to probably be my early single in that card.
Oh, I like it. So go ahead, Jackson.
Does anyone know who the last California horse was to win a Breeders' Cup race? Going 2 or 3 turns? Not sprinting. Has to be 2 or 3 turns.
Oh.
Wasn't last year.
I would have said Life is Good, but he was trained by Pletcher.
Gotta be turf race.
Oh, turf.
Sorry. Yes.
Oof.
Turf race going 2 or 3 turns.
You got me stumped.
Yeah, same.
Okay. I'll have to look it up because I know. I forgot. But I know it was like 2002. It's been like it's been over 20 years. I know that. I think it was the Mandela horse who dead heated in the turf. I'm pretty sure that was the last one.
Okay.
Okay,
that's
so
how bad we are. She's gonna.
So 2002, I wasn't even alive, so
yes.
I can give you a pass there.
Singletary 04. There you go. Was he West Coast? Was Singletary West Coast?
Singletary, I don't know.
That was definitely 04 though.
That's way before my time.
It's at least 20 years. That's how bad we are. Ugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think those are probably some of the more likely races where you have a chance. I'll quickly mention Filly and Mare Sprint. Sweet Azteca looked like a force until something happened last weekend. I'm not really quite sure. But she's got to face Zeitlos, Society, Vava, Ways and Means. Just to sum, that's going to be a hell of a race. Mm-hmm. Dirt Mile, probably going to be National Treasure. I don't think he's going to go to the probably not going to go to the Classic. And then I don't know what the hell you do with Muth after his last effort. And Full Serrano, the Argentinian bred, I think is a little interesting. So that's the Dirt Mile. And then got to mention the Classic. West Coast horses basically have no shot in here, unless it's the mighty Mixto.
I don't know. Subsanador looked decent. He didn't get a great setup, and he still won. So I won't be betting him, but I won't be shocked if he wins either.
Yeah, it's going to be a wide open Classic. Going to be a great betting race, which is something that I think is good to see. I think a Breeders' Cup Classic contender, most likely runner, was Bright Future, who was just retired, I believe, today. So that's a little bit of news in there. But other than that, I mean, I think you have a really wide open race. I'm curious to see the field that turns up. We should get at least 12 in the starting gate. I'd be disappointed otherwise with how pretty much wide open this Classic field or this Classic division is for the older dirt males.
You guys have a pick a couple weeks out for the Classic?
Oh, Jackson, I'll let you go first.
Fierceness. I feel like everyone coming over is like these mid-pack closer types, and that's just not how Delmar plays. He's going to be in front. So.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. Ryan, you got one?
Yeah, I'm going to pick Highland Falls. If Pratt sticks, I mean, Godolphin and Brad Cox, obviously, you got to respect it. I don't know. That horse took it to Arthur's ride in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Yeah, in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. Yeah. I love that ride. I don't know where this horse is going to be in the field when they, break and they start running, but this horse is tactical. Highland Falls can kind of come from a little bit out of it. Oh, Forever Young, as Howard just put in the chat. Yeah. Forever Young might be a little bit dangerous in there as far as the shippers come in. And then
I like it.
And then I'm excited to get to Delmar once the horses start kind of shipping over, because I want to see City of Troy run over the track. If he really does ship out for the Classic, I want to see what he does. I don't have a strong opinion yet. If I had to make one based on the U.S. horses, I'm taking Highland Falls, but obviously Forever Young might be a monster. City of Troy, most talented. If he takes to the dirt, that's a dangerous threat as well. But give me Highland Falls. Why not?
Yeah, I think I'd lean toward Arthur's ride right now. He's got the style coming off of that really bad effort where he lost to Highland Falls and did not look good at all. He's training up to the Classic. It'll be interesting to see. We'll have to see kind of the weeks leading into just to see how horses are working. I know FanDuel does a great job of covering that stuff. What do they call it? Like morning with the Breeders' Cup.
Breakfast at the Breeders' Cup.
Yeah, exactly. So I think he's one that's interesting, especially he's going to be a decent price off of that bounce race last time. I think that's going to wrap things up for us. For my great co-host Ryan Anderson and our special guest Jackson Muniz, this has been your host Noah Meagher for episode 3 of Pacific Horseplayers, covering the Santa Anita Late Pick 5 and a little bit of Breeders' Cup talk. Make sure to join us next Wednesday at 9:30 Eastern, because that is going to be our time going forward. Betting and boozing 7:30 Eastern on Wednesdays. Pacific Horseplayers 9:30 Eastern on Wednesdays as well. That's going to wrap it up for us. That's going to do it for your host, Noah Meagher. This has been Ryan Anderson and Jackson Muniz. PHP out.